and bears, oh my. We're the lions, tigers, and bears. Well, we're talking about the African National Congress, the ruling party of South Africa, which is bankrupt. They are without assets. Now, in the build-up to the 2021 municipal elections in South Africa, we saw that the ANC could not even pay its staff their salaries. This went on for some time, for months on end. They could not or would not pay the staff of those who work for them at Luthuli House. This created a huge problem. In fact, members of the ANC staff actually marched against the party, demanding their pay. And that story just sort of died because the mainstream media in South Africa had no interest in uncovering the perilous state of finances at the African National Congress, which of course is ironic, given that the African National Congress has a long history of members of its party being nothing but thieving, conniving kleptocrats who've stolen PPE funds, who've stolen money from the World Bank, the IMF, who have diverted funds from the arms deal, the Travelgate scandal, the Nkonla security upgrades in KZN. The list just goes on. And you would think that all these professional kleptocrats in the African National Congress, they could somehow find a way to secure resources for their own party. But apparently they're not capable of that. They cannot secure resources for their own party. Microwaves, laptops, and a water cooler. The sheriff of the Gauteng High Court descended on the African National Congress's headquarters, Luthuli House, today, December 4th, 2023. Can it get more embarrassing for the African National Congress? A country that is on the verge of collapse, a country that saw an eternal insurrection ignored, willfully, intentionally ignored by the authorities in charge of South Africa back in July 2021. A country in which racial division is stoked by very political leaders who decry racial discrimination and division. Yeah, well, the sheriff of the Gauteng High Court descended on Luthuli House today to search for assets. Now, this is after the company Bezuidenhout Investments attached the party's accounts, trying to recover about 152 million rand that it's owed from 2019 elections by producing posters for the ANC, which they failed to compensate the company for. Now, a security guard witnessed the arrival of the sheriffs, and this guard said, "We saw the truck arrive and the sheriff went inside the building. They stayed inside for a while before leaving. Nothing was taken." Well, that's because the sheriff was there to categorize the assets. Peter Fernando of Bezuidenhout told the media that a writ of execution was served on the African National Congress and that the sheriff had subsequently attached the party's bank accounts and assets. So the ANC, just months before a national election, has no money, no bank accounts in which to conduct the election. If in fact their accounts stay frozen and they don't find some generous Bell Pottinger-like donor to cover their election campaign cost, either Cyril Ramaphosa, Tuka Sexwale, or Patrice Motsepe is going to have to cough up hundreds of millions of rand to pay for all those posters and all that advertising coming up, or the ANC will go below even the 38% that I predicted that they would get back when the municipal elections occurred. I predicted the ANC would not get higher than 38% of the popular vote on election day in 2024. Well, it looks like that's actually an optimistic projection. It's going to be lower than that. Now, Peter Fernando of Bezuidenhout says that they are determined to get their money back from the African National Congress. He said the following, quote, "We can see that they don't want to pay, that they don't respect the judgment given by the High Court, that they're undermining the justice system, and we are disappointed that the ruling party is behaving in that manner. We see they want to prolong this." In fact, that is the case. They have already tried to extend this and run it out, one court after another, appealing a decision, and it's failed. Now, the actual writ of execution reads as follows. Ready for this? A lot of technical legal language here, folks, but you are hereby directed to attach and take the movable goods of the execution debtor African National Congress at Chief Albert Luthuli House and the same cause to be realized by public auction 102,465,000 rand. 10% interest per annum from September 1st, 2019 to 29 February 2020. 9.75% interest from March 1st, 2020 to April 30th, 2020, and 8.75% per annum for 9.75% from 1 March 2020 to April 30, 2020, and 8.75% per annum from 1 May 2020 until the date of payment in full. Oh, this is devastating news for the African National Congress and for leftists around the world, leftist hate wankers who seek to undermine liberty and freedom and divide people by race, ethnicity, religion, and ethnic origin. Yeah, this is what happens. Leftists can't even manage their own bank accounts. Now, the notice of execution lists things like desk, chairs, laptops, plasma televisions, Lounge suites, fridges, microwaves, and even couches are listed as assets to be seized by the bankrupt corrupt ANC. Now, the assets are on floors 4 through 6 and include a boardroom table, a round glass chair, and a water cooler. And they range in value from 200 to 5,000 Rand is the assessed value of these things. Now, none of these assets were removed by the sheriff today, but they were cataloged for future removal. The Supreme Court of Appeal, of course, dismissed with cost the ANC's appeal against a high court judgment that the party was responsible for the outstanding amount owed to Bezuidenhout investments. ANC spokesman Mahalengi Bengu Motsiri was unavailable for comment. Now, that shouldn't surprise anybody. He's unavailable for comment. I don't think anybody in the ANC has much to say to comment on this. But, ladies and gentlemen, the ANC is bankrupt. Not only are they bankrupt with political ideas, not only is their ideology bankrupt, not only is their race hustling bankrupt, they are actually physically cash-strapped bankrupt, bankrupt, as we say in German. They got no shekels to shake together. They can't rub 2 Rand together. This is just the tip of the iceberg of what's coming ahead. We will find more corruption, more fraud revealed as a consequence of this debt asset seizure. We will find much more of the rot at the African National Congress being revealed as a consequence of this stupidity of the party. Look, when you're guilty, when you're dirty, when you're corrupt, the last thing you want is the government agencies in your business. And that's what the ANC's got going on. Ironically, these agencies belong to the ANC. They rule them and have ruled them without any exception since 1994. And these very agencies are doing their job, apparently, and coming after the bankrupt, the African National Congress. Now, isn't it ironic that the ANC, whose political ideas are bankrupt, is actually cash-strapped? But we've known this for a long time. Why has the media not grasped this? This is the frustrating thing for me. This little channel, which has been heavily censored by YouTube and doesn't get the notoriety that it should get, is one of the few places, along with Morning Shot and others, who actually point out the reality of this. I do not understand why Times Live, News 24, which is now on top of this story, the Independent Line also covered it today, but why the story hasn't been covered for the past 4 years. We've known that the ANC has no money. They failed to pay their workers, but this was not a big story. There was no investigative journalism going on by Abu Ghani, the Daily Maverick. Why aren't they investigating this? Why aren't investigative journalists in South Africa interested in the finances of the African National Congress? We know the corrupt activities they've been involved in. Maybe it's just too much. It just take up too much of your time to investigate all this. You have to wonder why this has not been front page news. Is it simply disinterest? One has to say, no, it's probably not disinterest. It's probably something much deeper than that. Is the rot in at the media as well? Are the media responsible for this garbage? Excuse me, this phone call won't go away. Go away. So I got a phone call come up my screen here, and it's a spam account. Why has the media consistently not gone in depth and done investigative reporting on this story? Ask yourself that question, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very simple answer. Either they're negligent or they're complicit in what's going on here. I'd say the odds are pretty good that maybe there's some complicit nonsense going on here. But the bottom line is this. Today, the 4th of December, 2023, just months away from a national election that will unseat the African National Congress as the ruling party in South Africa. Now, that doesn't mean they can't form a coalition, but they will no longer be the sole ruling party because they'll be under 50%. The question is, will they be under 40%? And if so, how far will they go? Without any money to put up campaign posters or to buy KFC 3-piece streetwise for buying votes or handing out assets, what are they going to do? The fiscus in South Africa doesn't have any money to hand out in the form of increased SASSA grants or free houses or free this or free that, so they can't even take credit for that. There's nothing to hand out to South Africans between now and the election. Who will come to the rescue? Will it be Bill Gates? Will it be Joe Biden? Will it be the leftist in Europe from the European Union who come to South Africa's rescue? They've done their best they can to keep the ANC afloat with billions and billions and billions of loan guarantees and grants for the just energy transition. Not to mention, remember the beginning of the pandemic when South Africa got 5.3 billion US dollars, nearly 90 billion Rand. None of that money's accounted for. Not a single government official has ever stated where that money came from. The 285 million, where it went from the African Development Bank, the money from the BRICS Bank, 1 billion, the money from the IMF, from the World Bank, none of that money's ever been accounted for. And then subsequent additional payment last year from the World Bank to South Africa. Where is that money? Never mind all the taxes in South Africa. But the ANC, corrupt to the core. What a disgrace to the liberation movement. What a disgrace to anyone who ever fought against apartheid. and follow the corrupt, thieving, so incompetent that it can't pay its own bills. With all its luminaries like Patrice Motsepe and Toki Sexwale and Cyril, Menir Palapala or Ramaphosa. Where are their contributions? At least Gate McKenzie contributes money out of his own pocket to his own political party. How much did Cyril Ramaphosa give to his bankrupt party? Let's look at the donations from Cyril Ramaphosa. I'm not sure that he's ever given a penny to the African National Congress. Has he? Has he? I doubt it. This is a sad story when leftists get in charge, folks. This is the inevitable outcome. The problem is in how much harm is done along the way, how many lives are destroyed, how much wealth is burnt up, how much opportunity is destroyed. That's the question. And that's what's so sad and pathetic here. But there you go, folks. The African National Congress, the day the sheriff came for their assets, seizing the ANC's assets to pay a debt that they refused to pay. Not only can't pay, but they refused to pay. Oh, but if they had the money, they'd try to string this out and run the clock out and go into extra time over and over again, a la all ANC. That's all they do. They run the clock out. They stretch it. Have we got justice in the dairy farm, the Vereda dairy farm? No. Have we got justice in Digital Vibes? No. Is Wayne Mkhize still in Parliament? Have we got justice against 178 corruption charges against Zandile Gumeda in Itequini? No. Have we got justice in the Travelgate scandal? No. Have we got justice in the Oilgate scandal? Have we got justice in any of the scandals in South Africa? No. Pala, not a damn thing. Just a total freaking mess. What a disgusting, disgusting legacy the African National Congress is leaving behind. A party of reprobates. And their answer every time is, oh, we hear you, we understand. No, you don't. You don't understand, you don't care. This is a party of grifters that's latched on to liberation and claimed the mantle of liberation as their own, fraudulently. Ignoring the role of the Black Sash movement, Helen Suzman, the Liberal Party, Steve Biko and the Black Consciousness movement, and all those who fought in the Pan-African Congress and all the other groups, the journalists who fought, those who were banned during apartheid, all of them who fought to end the system of apartheid, betrayed by the African National Congress, who consistently lie and try to take credit for all of that and dismiss the contributions of all the South Africans who fought to change the system. They've been frauds all along, and they prove it each and every single day. Each and every single day. And they're so inept, so incompetent, so venal, so vile, so corrupt that they won't even pay their bills. And now, the court judgment against them to seize their assets, the judge has said, go get it. And the sheriff arrives at Lutuli House. How embarrassing is that? Named after Chief Albert Lutuli, a key figure in the anti-apartheid movement. This headquarters, the African National Congress, assets being surveyed. Now, what the sheriff needs to do is put security forces outside the building and ensure that the ANC doesn't surreptitiously remove all of these assets in the dark of night and take them elsewhere. What a corrupt, venal, disgusting, vile, poor excuse for governance that South Africa suffers through, and South Africans, black, white, and brown, all suffering. Who suffers the most? Poor black South Africans, of which there are tens of millions more today than there were in 1994. A corrupt system of pseudo-market capitalism implemented by a communist party running South Africa. No wonder they like the Chinese. There's their model right there. Commies running the show, dictating, dividing, attacking people based on their faith, based on their ethnicity, their skin color. That's China. It's the same plan. Look what they do to Uyghurs. Look what they do to Muslims. Look what they do to anyone who's not Mandarin ethnic Chinese. I mean, even do it to those folks too, killing 30 to 50 million of them in the Cultural Revolution. These are the friends of the African National Congress. This is a party that now is demanding that Santon Drive, a South African name created from Sandown and Bryanston, Santon Drive, be renamed after a terrorist, a woman who hijacked a plane of innocent civilians and is heralded for being a terrorist. They want to name the road after her. Sick, sick individuals indeed. Well, folks, good Lord. Suddenly everybody shows up in my neighborhood out here rolling around. I hope you can't hear that. But anyway, that's what they are. That's their legacy. That's who they'll always remain. Nothing but cheap grifters. What a disgrace. They demand to name a road after a terrorist. Who does that? And don't give me one man's terrorist, another man's freedom fighter. It's not a freedom fighter. It's a terrorist. You hijack a plane, you're a criminal. Pure and simple. Finished and clear, as South Africans like to say. 100%. Ladies and gentlemen, the ANC has had its assets cataloged for seizure. Will a big donor swoop in and save them? Even if big donor swoops in and gives 150 plus million rand to the ANC to pay off their debtor, that just means they're back to zero. Who's going to pay for all the black, green, and yellow posters? Who's going to hand out all the t-shirts? Who's going to print them and pay for them? It's time for the Independent Electoral Commission to pay very close attention to the donor list and the contributions given to the African National Congress over the past decade. And especially be very vigilant as we move forward into 2024. The ANC is a party that is a dead man walking and has been since the onset of the pandemic. Their reaction to it was racist, it was incompetent, it was liberty stealing, it was unconstitutional, and their stupid actions are coming back to haunt them. Well, there you go, folks. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Any questions or comments, feel free to leave them behind if you like. And again, for those of you incapable of distinguishing between what's being said and what's going around in your minds, and then we know who we're talking about here. These are hate-wanking trolls. This video is about the African National Congress. That's a political party, a multiracial political party comprised of people of all faiths and all skin pigmentations. It's not an attack on any ethnic group. It is, however, exposing the fraud of the African National Congress. If you can't live with that, then you're watching the wrong program. If you do like insightful analysis, cogent commentary, and lucid moments, this is the place to be. Thanks a lot, folks. Be sure to hit the like button. We'll catch you next time right here on Chris Wyatt Reports. News coming up shortly in the next hour. And we'll be talking about this topic again, along with a host of other ones, including the brutality of Hamas on October 7th. Thanks a lot, folks. Be safe out there. God bless. ANC. Bankrupt. Sad.